Story 1. This is not my story, but a friend's. I will be telling it from his point of view. This is a long one, so stick with me. Our old cleaning lady quit a few weeks ago, and she was great. She was one of the nicest people I've ever met. 2 weeks ago, our new cleaning lady started, and she is super entitled. The first day she started was Columbus Day, or Indigenous Peoples Day depending on who you are. Schools were off that day, and she brought her child with her. She didn't ask my mother, but she was understanding. Entitled mom will call her Karen asked me if I could hang out with her kid. I was fine with that, as I had nothing else to do anyway. I went out of my room to get something, and I heard her say, "Yes, baby, you may." This was followed by her kid running up the stairs happily and going into my room. I thought nothing about what Karen said until I heard my Xbox turn on. I immediately went into my room, and her kid was on my Xbox and opening Warzone. Keep in mind, the kid was only about 8 or 9 from what I could tell, so Warzone was way too mature for him. This was the conversation the kid and I had. "Hey kid, could you please get off my Xbox?" "But my mom said I could." "Your mom may have said you could, but this is my Xbox. You would need to ask me too. If you had asked me, I might have said yes." "Oh, okay. Sorry." "It's okay. Just ask me next time." And with that, it was over. The kid didn't whine and complain and sat down at my desk to do some homework he brought with him. But when Karen came up to clean my room, she was not amused, and the following conversation took place. "Hey baby, why aren't you on OP's Xbox?" "OP said I couldn't play on it because I didn't ask him." "OP, how dare you boss around my child?" "This is my Xbox, and he also needs to ask me before he can use it. If he asked me, I would have let him. Also, he was opening up Call of Duty, which is..." She interrupts. "Call of Duty? Why do you have mature games on your Xbox? This is unacceptable. I'm telling your mother about this, and do not think this will go unpunished." "Go right ahead," I replied. She left the room after that. The kid said, "Sorry, she can be a pain sometimes." "It's okay," I responded. All I could think was, no 8-year-old should have to apologize for their mother's behavior. About 10 minutes later, she came back into my room. Karen said, "Your mother says you have to give me your Xbox now. It's his from now on." "Really?" "I don't believe you. I'm not giving you anything." Her kid, "Mom, I don't want his Xbox." "Don't take it." "No, we're taking it home with us. Remind me to come back up here for it." "Okay," the kid replied. Karen leaves. When she's out of earshot, the kid says, "I won't remind her. Her memory is really bad." The rest of the day goes on without any issues, and Karen and her kid leave. As soon as they left, I went downstairs to tell my mom what happened. Then I got her side of the story. Apparently, Karen told her I used inappropriate language towards her and was bullying her son, which was total nonsense. I told her what really happened, and she took my side of the story as fact. While she wasn't mad at me about how I handled it, she was mad at me for having mature games like Call of Duty. I am 15, by the way. She also commented that she never said that Karen could have my Xbox. She commended me for how I handled it, considering I'm usually not good with confrontations. Despite what happened, my mom decided to give Karen one more chance, and we would let her come next week. Fast forward to next week, and I am nervous all day long at school, as there was nobody home except my cat, which meant that Karen was cleaning the house alone. She's gone by the time my mom and I get home. The first thing I did when I got home was go and check out my room, and sure enough, my Xbox was gone, but so was my monitor. At this point, I was super angry, and I was done with this maid's nonsense. I told my mom, who called the maid. She said she had no idea what we were talking about. She accused us of trying to frame her and defamation of character. We laughed her into oblivion and called her out on her nonsense, explaining the evidence to her. She was silent for a few seconds before hanging up. The next day, while we were eating dinner, the doorbell rang, and when we went to see who it was a man holding an Xbox that exactly resembled mine. We opened the door and asked what this was about. He introduced himself as Karen's husband and said that he had my Xbox with him. He said the cords and monitor were in his car. He went and got all of the items that were stolen. After he gave the stolen items back to us, he explained what happened afterward. Apparently, he had inquired Karen about the Xbox and monitor. She said that it was a gift for the kid for being such a good boy. The fact that he saw the cord still plugged in and the Xbox out of the box made him suspicious. Then, later that evening, the kid came to him and told him what had happened the week before. The husband put two and two together, and when she was out cleaning another house, he went and got everything and brought it to us. He then said he had to hurry home before she got there first and discovered what happened. After he left, my mom called Karen and fired her. And with that, we thought it was over. That is until yesterday when the police showed up at our door. They said that there was a report of stolen property at this address. Yep, Karen actually called the police to get the stuff she stole back. We told them the entire story, and they were very angry that Karen had made them waste their time, but thanked us anyway and were going by her house to have a stern word with her. And just when we thought that was it, we got court letters in the mail. Karen was suing us for stolen property, defamation of character, and verbal abuse. Yes, she was still standing behind the nonsense story she told my mom. The amount of money? $11,000 and her property back. We began gearing up for a big court fight with her, knowing she would stop at nothing to get the stuff she stole back. I will be posting an update when my friend lets me know. Story 2. I was going through Reddit when a post reminded me of this train wreck of an engagement. This isn't my story but the story of my friend, a man who at the time was in his late 20s, well over 6'4", shy, and a hardcore gamer metal head. At the time, he was engaged to a free-spirited princess who dreamed of the big wedding in Disney World. She wanted the big cake, the big dress, and would style her outfits every day so she would resemble a Disney princess. All this is fine, her outfits were pretty cute. But the problem is he was the only one working, yet she did a lot of spending. When they first got engaged, she instantly began wedding planning, and things were getting ridiculously expensive, but he had little to no input whatsoever. After adding it all up and doing the budgeting, my friend finally spoke up and put his foot down. He's an easygoing guy and was happy for her to plan the whole thing how she wanted. He knew she'd been planning this for years. The problem was he simply couldn't afford everything she wanted. He offered her a compromise that they have the smaller wedding but the dream Disney honeymoon she wanted, and he even agreed she could get the dream dress. This compromise was going well until she began picking out the groom's outfit. She wanted him to wear a white head-to-toe tweed suit and pink shoes to match her flowers. He agreed to try it on, and a few of his friends went with him for support. They all agreed it didn't look like him. As I mentioned earlier, he's a chill guy, but he's very shy and introverted, and he felt very uncomfortable in the suit. He attempted another compromise. He would wear the shoes but wanted a black or gray, slightly more traditional outfit. This is when she flipped and had a major meltdown in front of family and friends at a barbecue they were hosting. When he tried on the suit and decided he didn't want to wear it, everyone assumed that was the end of it. But this had become a heated argument behind closed doors, we learned, for over 2 weeks. The first sign of a meltdown I heard was loud screaming in their garden. I was getting another beer at the time, so I came running outside to see what had happened. The bride was on the floor screaming and crying, literally throwing a tantrum like a small child. She had been trying to pressure him into wearing the suit again at the party by telling all his family about the suit and how he looks great in it. She'd been going around the garden trying to get people to convince him to be brave and wear the suit. When he confronted her, this is when she let out a huge scream of anguish and threw herself to the floor. Stunned and confused, the other guests and I just watched the events unfold. She claimed if he loved her, then he would wear the suit she wanted and give her a bigger budget for the wedding because all these constraints and budgets were ruining her big day. I've never in my life seen this guy raise his voice or even defend himself, but he stood up for himself this day. He told her that it was just a suit and it's not her big day. It's meant to be their big day, and he wouldn't feel comfortable in the suit, and she should respect that. I think she was just as shocked as we were, but then she pulled out the big guns of the argument. She gave him an ultimatum. If he wouldn't wear the suit, then the engagement was off, and the relationship was over, and he should leave now. This is when he began laughing, and I thought he'd actually lost it. He replied that it was his house. Apparently, her name wasn't on anything inside the house, including the pets, and the honeymoon they booked was also in his name. He called the engagement off and told her parents to take her home, which they did with her kicking and screaming. This memory always makes me laugh. My friend's okay. I'm not really sure what happened to her, but I know the only thing he gave back to her was her clothes, and that's it. I've not spoken to her since. All this over a silly suit. Story 3. All documents I make at work have a watermark as required by my employer. This has been the case for the entire time I have worked there. I belong to several professional communities where it is common to share ideas and examples of documents that others can borrow from, but any document I share has my employer's watermark, though it would be easy enough to remove it without too much effort. Someone asked for ideas on how to do something. I shared an example, as did others, and I was informed by the original poster that mine had been selected to be used, but that she needed me to remove the watermark so that she could use it as her own document. I told her that per the community guidelines, that wouldn't be something I would do, and that she had asked for ideas, not to plagiarize someone's document. She became feisty about it, saying that she would just take it off herself and use it because she didn't have time to make her own. I reported her to the group admin, and she was frozen from the group for 2 weeks, but she emailed my work email to say again that she really needed me to resend her the document without the watermark. Seriously, if she wanted to copy it that badly, she could easily recreate it, just by copying and pasting it into her own document. I fantasized about sending her a revised copy that said in several places, "I copied this document from somewhere and tried to pass it off as my own," but figured I would only be hurting myself. I don't respond, and a week later, I get an email from her saying that she had to rewrite my entire document because it was terrible and that she wrote her own, and it was much better than mine, and that her employer was really impressed with her work. Just to see, because I was curious, I looked up her employer just by chance to see if the document was posted on their website, and it was. My employer's contextual information is still included in her document. You didn't think to change that part when you copied mine. My employer called theirs to demand that the document be taken down from their website. She emails me again saying I owe it to her now to send my document again without the watermark. Story 4. This is a long one. My father left my mother when I was 11 months old, and my brother and sister were 2 and 5. He left with his mistress' mother's best friend to another country. My mother left when I was 2 and hired my aunt father's sister to take care of us long term. Aunt moved into our house. The thing is, this lady would just take the money my mother sent and use it for her and her boyfriends. She would leave the house for weeks or months at a time, leaving us to fend for ourselves. My grandmother father's mom lived a few minutes away, so we would go eat there once a day, and that would be our only meal for that day. Since my grandmother owns a large farm, she would have a lot of fruit, so my sister would go there and take some for us to eat the rest of the day. We lived like that until I turned 6. I went to my grandmother's house and asked her to teach me how to cook, and she did. My brother took some land behind our house, and we planted some food to grow like potatoes, beans, and corn. We survived like that until I was 12 years old. My mother finally saved enough money to bring us to live with her, so we moved to another country with my mother. My father came to meet his son and daughter older sister, and my brother introduced me to him. His only words were, "I wish you were never born." So needless to say, I don't have a relationship with him. In 2013, my grandmother passed away. We never saw her since we left. In her will, she left the big farm to me with some other land she purchased after we left. In total, it's like 200 acres. The only condition is that I have to take care of my sister and brothers. I have another half-brother from my father. The thing is, she only put sister, not sisters. I have a half-sister from my father. Half-siblings have different mothers. Now my father's ex-mistress shows up at my house demanding I sell the farm and give her daughter her share. I said no. She called my father, and now he demands that I take care of his daughter financially and let him meet his granddaughter, my daughter. I told him to go away. Now my aunt has been telling me that I'm selfish, that my grandmother wanted me to take care of my sister, and I'm not honoring her last wish. But if my grandmother really wanted me to give her something, she would have put it in writing. She included my half-brother, but not her, and I don't want to sell. 1, it was my grandparents. 2, my cousins are using it to survive, just like my family. My uncle father's brother left them too, and they need it.